Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
That's right, geeks.
Nobody likes pancakes.
Lana is the best. Lana number one. Lana is the best. Lana number one. Lana is the best. Lana number one.
Sammy Wow Wow.
Knee to the face.
Hello and welcome to the best pro wrestling podcast where we're constantly giving out knees to the face and Lana is the best. Lana number one. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about this week, that is for sure.
So much to talk about.
We got to talk about Raw, Smackdown, 205 Live. Yes, we're going to keep talking 205 Live of all things, as well as some Mixed Match Challenge.
What a week.
What a week it has been. It's a week.
What a week it's been. So much to talk about.
It's like that every week now. We just recorded an hour podcast talking Ring of Honor and New Japan. There was tons to talk about there because we had a big New Japan show last week. Ring of Honor had its test run of the Honor Club, so like a free pay-per-view.
It's been one of like the best weeks ever because it's like nothing giant has happened, but everything was just good.
Well, there were two really great matches on the New Japan show. The junior heavyweight match between Will Ospreay and Hiromu Takahashi.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then the main event I thought was really good too. Sonata versus the longtime champion Kazuchika Okada, with Okada maintaining his championship. But I thought a very good match nonetheless. Even though there were a lot of people that were getting hyped up with this idea of Sonata possibly upsetting Okada and taking the IWGP Heavyweight Championship away from him, and it was fun to get wrapped up in all of that. And and watch I watched the match unspoiled, which was it's very difficult to do if you're a New Japan fan and you don't watch live. You pretty much have to log out of all social media, stay away from the internet and anything that might spoil you, because as a fan of that promotion, I'm bombarded with stuff from that promotion all of the time, even on Facebook. So I just ignore everything and then watch it as soon as I can, which is what I did. But we talked about all of that on Strong Honor this week, so check that out on this feed as well as on its own Strong Honor feed. You should be able to search that show on iTunes and wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure you check that out. If you're new to this show, thanks for checking it out. I know we do have a lot of new listeners thanks to the ad that we took out on Pro Wrestling Sheet last month. So thanks for checking out this show and checking out some fan opinions and some different opinions, and just we try to do things a little bit different on this show. There's a ton of fan podcasts out there. There's hundreds and thousands of wrestling podcasts out there. We try to keep the bitching to a minimum on this show, and just try to spin things to the positive and talk about what we like and look at things in that way. And so that's what we try to do on this show anyway. And
make jokes at each other's expense.
Correct.
Especially Joe's.
Yeah, especially me.
Yeah, we give Joe quite a bit of shit, but
it's okay.
It's what we do here. But this week, I don't know. I just want to have, before we kind of get into Raw, SmackDown, and all of that, I thought Raw was good, but there were definitely, again, it's a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
I had a tough time just with the marathon of it this week, and then when it came time for me to watch SmackDown, I was just kind of burnt out. And maybe it was the fact that it was a really great New Japan show. We had some extra Ring of Honor this weekend as well, and so it might have just been burnout on pro wrestling in general. For when I watched Raw this week, it's very, very rare for my wife to sit down with me when I'm watching any kind of wrestling.
Right.
But this week she sat and she was messing around on her tablet playing games, but she sat there for Raw the entire time. Had some good things to say about the women's matches we were watching Raw and things of that nature. But for the most part, she's not into it and gets kind of even if she's not paying attention or watching it all, just doing stuff on her tablet like she was this week, something will like just bother her to the point where she just has to leave. I can't do this. I have to leave. I can't. Fuck this.
I think that's every one of our ladies'
Yep,
cases.
every single one.
But that was not the case this week.
Was it Elias?
No. This week she sat there for the entire show and was fine. But I was the one bitching like, oh my god, like here we go. Well, we do 20 minutes of talking and here we go into a fucking commercial. Like I was being the snarky son of a bitch when I'm usually the guy trying to spin things into positive. So I did suffer from a little of pro wrestling burnout this week, especially when it came to SmackDown. Despite, I think, if I go back and kind of look at it a little more objectively and kind of maybe ignore some of the stuff that WWE does, the matches that they put on were very good. Some very good matches this week. So if you're one of those that just kind of watches the clips or whatever, catches up on YouTube, it was a pretty good week for WWE in general.
Well, and even just saying, as a guy who doesn't catch as much of the New Japan and Ring of Honor stuff, I had a fun week. Like I enjoyed Raw, I enjoyed SmackDown.
Yeah,
I think SmackDown was a little bit better than Raw, but again, I think the only difference is that extra hour.
Right.
Like you take away that extra hour from Raw, it's probably an equal show, but Raw wasn't like 100%.
I just catch myself like just this last week, just the things I'm really nitpicking are like using like the fucking words on the screen for every promo now.
A lot of people
like, I like it, but you don't need to do it for every single one. Like, keep it simple.
Yeah, a lot of people are kind of that's getting the internet does tend to scream a bit about the words on the promos.
But I'm glad that's my complaint, not the actual product. It's
sure.
It's kind of refreshing. It's just these last couple of weeks post Royal Rumble, it definitely seemed like they're trying to head in button up direction, trying to do things differently.
And the words on the screen thing is just kind of a minor issue. Whereas I don't necessarily mind these selfie promos that they're doing. I'd rather see a selfie promo than these weird, those silly backstage skits that happen for basically no reason. I mean, they happen for a reason, but there's like no reason for it to be filmed. In other words, like those bother me more than a selfie promo where they produce it and put graphics on them. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, even those selfie promos are refreshing. It's just we don't need every single one of them doing it.
Yeah, it is a bit. They're playing with a new toy.
Exactly, and it's just like I hope they can find a good balance of it, because I really do even like the nerdometer that they had on Raw. It was rough.
I enjoyed it. I do not care.
It just wasn't like the right spot for me. I think they could have incorporated it in a better way. It was just so out of the blue. Like that's what I'm saying. Like
you guys are just a bunch of fucking
we have like the cell door slamming on the Usos. We have everything.
Yeah, that one was rough.
We have Daniel Bryan coming out and the crowd going yes, 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 and that's popping across the screen.
That was weird. That was
just like this is too
they tried
much.
to do
where
it live.
Like if the club is going to cut a promo and bring out the nerdometer, like I think it could be funny. That's kind of the WWE style. Those guys can make it work. But everything's just being forced on us right now.
Yeah, the nerdometer was a bit much for me.
Nope.
But
it was wonderful.
But that's the thing, is to each their own. And again, the whole nerds thing or whatever, that I have enjoyed. I have enjoyed Anderson and Gallows largely calling out people and calling them nerds and having fun with that.
Well, for me, it was like when that popped on the screen, it wasn't like a what the fuck is that? It's like, oh, they're finally doing something with that meter shirt they were trying to sell. So it's like, good for you.
I could have done without the explosion at the end. But.
All right, I'll give you that.
All right, let's just jump right in. Let's get into some Monday Night Raw, and we'll hit the details as we run
we
through
haven't
them.
hit this yet. Shit.
The subject, Monday Night Raw.
So again, I thought a long Raw, but I thought largely a pretty good show this week. Some good matches on there. Opening match, The Miz versus John Cena right off the bat.
Hell yeah.
We had that promo setting up the whole thing or whatever. But yeah, a good match. I like that Cena is. It's kind of like Cena's MO now. Everybody kicks out of the first AA, but now he has to hit the big avalanche AA off the second rope to get the victory. So it's kind of ingrained into like big match Cena. Not just one AA is good enough. Now that he's old Cena, he has to hit the big AA off the second rope. But I like that there's an evolution to Cena, and I thought this was a pretty good match. I thought early on the chin locks bothered me quite a bit. They worked some really, really long chin lock spots, but as someone who defends a good long match, especially like a New Japan style match, I can appreciate a long build. Again, for me, the chin locks was a bit repetitive at the beginning of this match, where they're just kind of working the same hold over and over. Again, it's the idea of a heel doing a boring hold to get heat. So I prefer a different approach to working slow at the beginning of a match. But again, I understand the concept, and I thought the near falls paid off in the match, and at the end with John Cena winning, that I thought was a feel good moment, despite Miz being over with a good amount of the fans, and now Miz has the penalty of entering the Elimination Chamber first. It's curious now, and we'll get to what happened in the main event, but with extra people now in the Elimination Chamber, do 3 people actually start the match since there are only 4 pods, or do they construct a mysterious 5th pod, like maybe at the top in the center or something?
It's like the shark cage.
You're kind of getting there, but I was gonna go. We're going shark cage, but we're going the full arm NXT style one again, right in the middle too, hanging from the middle. Elias, right in the middle.
So, is there a hole in the top of the cage that
I think it lowers down,
slip through, and then okay. It's like the whole cage lowers down, or there's like a mechanism that
I think we're looking way too far.
Lowers him out of the shark cage
Elias
into the middle of the ring.
Yeah, I just want to see him just lowered on something like
a stool.
Exactly, like on a stool.
So he's in
and his guitar is being lowered next to him
in the shark cage above the Elimination Chamber. It's his time to enter. Now he got the opportunity to enter last, correct? So that makes sense. He would be suspended high above the Elimination Chamber, Elias and his guitar serenading the audience.
Exactly, he'd have a microphone the whole time,
and he just slowly lands on a down John Cena and pins him.
Oh my God, that'd be phenomenal. And then Braun Strowman comes in with his bass and knocks him clean out of the
I do want to go back to the John Cena Miz match, but
I can't go ahead.
I've seen a lot of them now, like over the years, especially when Miz and him were, the WrestleMania feud. Their chemistry is surprisingly so good. Like, they just work so well off of each other. They're the perfect, good versus evil match. Like, even though people are cheering for Miz, like, that's the kind of evil he is.
Right.
And so this match, again, just solidified my trust in them to actually just put on an amazing match. Just those two.
All right, let's stop burying the lead unless you had something to add to that.
I was going to say, where was that at WrestleMania?
Let's not bury the lead any longer. The highlight of the show, I thought, was Braun Strowman showing up on stage.
Everyone thought this was the highlight
with
of the
a goddamn upright bass, playing it like a mongoloid, breaking the strings almost immediately. I'm just sitting here. I want to believe that the strings weren't gimmicked at all. He just has meat hook hands.
I unfortunately can just break that right there. What it is that those bridges that hold the strings up, they're not attached in any way except for that the strings that are compressing them down. So basically, he just pulled the string and pulled the whole bridge off the fucking thing.
And is also an upright bass that thin and brittle that that thing came apart really.
I'm sure they went cheap.
I think they went cheap, and you could tell Elias had something in his back protecting him.
They got the junior high school model.
Spoiler alert.
Well, there's a way. I mean, the way that you do that, there's a way, and I won't get into the ways and means of it if you're not trying to let the genie out of the bottle, so to say, on pro wrestling. So,
he's safe.
It was fine.
The Bullet Club's fine.
I just thought it was phenomenal. How often now should Braun Strowman sing on a?
I want to hear some more.
How many people were putting up lists of what the track listings would be of Braun Strowman's anthem?
The album cover artwork I thought was really. What was the
I'm
one?
not finished with you.
Of course. Well, where is that one?
Get these hands.
Not finished yet.
And then Going All the Way featuring Alexa Bliss. Was the B side on that one. It should be, a lot of the internet might be screaming just a little bit though, with the fact that remember when the Big Show. He can cry on cue, and so the big question is: just because the Big Show can cry on cue, should you really have a giant cry? Just because Braun Strowman can sing, should you actually have him singing? I'd say maybe once in a while, but let's not do this too often because I like that Braun Strowman is a multi-talented individual, but let's not. I don't need to see like once a year. I think for me, is good enough for Braun Strowman.
I'd take like
singing.
a special engagement for like a second appearance, but you can't go more than that.
I want a YouTube video. I don't want this to be a regular character thing.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad we cleared the air on that.
But on that note, Elias is rumored to be having his own music coming to iTunes. Oh yeah.
I am so down for this.
I will walk with Elias to the edge of the earth.
It'll be so great in its mediocrity and
I bet it's better than Jeff Hardy's albums.
Below average singing. The thing is I think Elias is aware of his talent level
100%.
and plays into it, whereas I think Jeff Hardy actually thinks he has something going on there. So there's that. So that'll be interesting to see if that actually comes to fruition, because I will definitely be looking for clips of that to play on the show. Other cool stuff from Monday Night Raw: Sasha Banks versus Bayley. Mm-hmm. This kind of came out of nowhere, out of the little bit of tension that we had last week on the show, where Bayley took on Asuka and lost, but they had the little interview segment beforehand where Bayley was like, well, I beat you before, Sasha. And apparently they went back and forth on Twitter all week, which is always fun. I appreciate a good Twitter work, as it were. Speaking of Twitter work, we didn't really get into this much on the show, I don't think. I don't remember if we talked about it last week, but the whole Booker T and Corey Graves angle, I completely got worked on Twitter.
Yeah.
I was one of the screaming internet fans talking about, well, if this is actually what he means, he should be fired. And of course, I added the caveat, well, if Booker T will probably just say, well, it's a work, brother. And so that is indeed what happened. It came out that Corey Graves and Booker T were working the internet and just having a whole lot of fun, which is good. But it does kind of ruin the fun that I thought that Michael Cole and Corey Graves were having at Booker T's expense when he was on commentary. But now that he is permanently off commentary, I think it's okay to let the cat out of the bag. And that was, good job.
Good work, boys.
Look,
good
honestly,
work.
Please work me. I love to be worked. I'm certainly not going to be one of these snarky ass motherfuckers talking about, you worked me.
It's part of the biz.
Why do you got to work me like that, bro? Like, please work me. That gets me more into the product.
It just shows you how great those guys are, and they're just in the announcing role now. So, you know, it's just like, never drop your guard. That's the wrestling business there.
So back to Sasha Banks and Bayley. Again, I thought this was a great match.
Mm-hmm. Hard hitting for these girls.
Yes, and they gave him some time, which was nice. Bayley getting the win, which was much needed on her part.
Very surprising, though, in the hometown.
Right, well, they had beaten her the year before when she lost the championship, of course. So, but again, she needed the win. Got it with the avalanche belly to belly, much like John Cena having to hit the second rope avalanche AA. Bayley had to hit the big Bayley to belly to get the win here. Now, spoiler alert: if you aren't caught up in your mixed match challenge, they kind of negated that very quickly. We'll get into mixed match challenge here in a little bit, but if that's in its own universe outside of Raw and nobody's paying attention, it was a good week for Bayley. But yeah, I thought a good match between those two. Nia Jax attacking the two of them after. Good heat for her, I thought, because she says, well, Asuka just had long matches with them, but I just beat them up just like real quick, like, excuse me, Asuka, but they just had a long match with each other, and it doesn't really count because you just kind of walked in after they were already beat up. So Nia, you're kind of wrong. So I kind of like that aspect too of Nia getting the heat there. So fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to. I can't believe I'm actually looking forward to Nia Jax and Asuka at the pay-per-view. I think they're doing a pretty good job building up Nia Jax here. I even like
we've seen it before, and it wasn't that bad of a match between those two.
Well, again, with anytime Asuka is involved, she knows how to work that situation. She had matches with men for crying. She had matches with Minoru fucking Suzuki. So she can no problem here. So it's going to be good. The question is, and we'll do our predictions obviously for Elimination Chamber next week, but there's a lot of different ways they can go with Asuka winning the Royal Rumble, challenging for the championship at WrestleMania, currently held by Alexa Bliss, defending it in the Chamber. Nobody else in the Chamber, aside from maybe Bayley or Sasha Banks, really jumps out as a possible winner of that championship. I pretty much kind of see it staying on Bliss, but a couple of options there. Don't really see it going towards the any of the Absolution girls in that situation. But then you have this Asuka Nia Jax situation where if Nia wins, it becomes a three-way at WrestleMania, which makes it interesting there. Do you actually have Nia win the streak? I don't think so. But again, you've got another factor at play here with Ronda Rousey going to sign with Monday Night Raw
at the Elimination Chamber.
At the Chamber. And then what do we do with her at WrestleMania? So there's a lot of different questions and things to kind of think about here going into Elimination Chamber, and where does this all go at WrestleMania? So lots of interesting questions. Fun. Yeah. So we did have Alexa Bliss teaming up with Mickie James of all people. They did an okay job kind of addressing that history. It made Mickie James look a little foolish for kind of trusting Alexa Bliss as a partner. But it was to go against Absolution Absolution, right? Getting Absolution and Riot Squad twisted in my mind.
I like the little promo in the back of like she's like, why the fuck y'all doing all this, and running down their history and everything, and it was still just like, nah, you're lying little bitch, like fuck you still. But like you said, she has that issue with Absolution, so it's just like, you gotta go take care of that and kind of take what you're going to get out of this situation.
And at least they addressed it. Certainly there have been times in the past where, WWE takes the approach of nobody remembers any of that anyway. Just fuck it. Throw them out there. So I like that they took some attention to detail, talked about the past between the two of them, but they're fighting against a united front against the Absolution.
It was a good way to kind of put some more of that heat back on a Bliss, too, with all this Absolution stuff going on, too, because it's like, hey, remember, she's a slimy bitch. You're not supposed to like her.
Right.
Well, and the same thing, they also brought up the fact that Absolution will be working together in the Chamber if they have the opportunity to do that. So we need to think about, we don't want them playing hot potato with the title with themselves. We want to have that. We want to have that opportunity.
We had the announcement that Ivory has been is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. We had a little bit of negativity from the internet on this. I think some people wanting to see China or maybe some other superstars entered. I think this is a smart move, kind of playing off of the popularity of the Glow series.
For sure.
Very smart. I actually did not know Ivory was in Glow.
Sure.
I didn't know a lot about her history before WWE. I love Ivory in WWE.
Big Right to Censor fan, are you, Joe?
Fuck yeah.
It's like
you censor that shit.
It was so annoying, but you look back and look at the shit they were going through, and it's just like, yeah, man, she fucking killed it at that era, because it's like, yeah, she fucking drove me nuts at times.
Yeah, and had some classic matches at the time. Nothing that's like blow away by today's standards, especially for the work rate style of today.
She was always out there to fucking go and wrestle. She was one of those chicks. So that's it's a good win. Shit.
And I'm not one of these. I don't make a big deal out of the WWE Hall of Fame because at the end of the day, the WWE Hall of Fame is it's a cash grab. It's another show for the WWE. It's there to put on the network, to have another show in the arena, WrestleMania weekend. It's there to it's a show. There's no process or credibility based on who goes in and who doesn't. It's just at the whim of the WWE creative, Vince McMahon, of who goes in and who doesn't. So to me, it was fine, and it just adds to. I think it's fine. It is what it is.
Cash grab or not, I will still be watching.
See, I've never watched them. Like, I don't like award
Last year was
shows
the
and any of
first
that
year.
kind of shit. I think they're the stupidest thing in the world, to be honest with you. But
I don't mind watching them if I can watch them in a timely fashion. Thing is especially with this year WrestleMania, with all of the stuff going on, I did manage to watch, I think, most of last year's, because I do like the speeches, because those are those come off as genuine, and you don't get a lot of genuine things in WWE.
Well, that's what I was gonna say is like I like the idea that they bring, though. If you get to hear these people's words like that, it does mean a lot to like Coco Beware, to be able to go on that stage again and interact, or even Ultimate Word of make men's meet, and talk to people once again. And it helps bring a new set of eyes and a different viewpoint on like people like the Ivories or Beth Phoenix, even from a year or 2 years ago.
Last year,
yeah.
So it's just like, I see the positive side of it. It's just any award show does nothing for me.
There you go. And you are not the only one, brother.
They do nothing.
All right, let's just the only other thing from Raw that I wanted to really touch on was the main event with the fatal 4-way turned 5-way to determine the last entrant into the Elimination Chamber. Seth Rollins politicking his way into the match. I liked that segment with him convincing Kurt Angle that this tag team with his son is a failed experiment or whatever, that Seth Rollins deserves better, that he wants to get back to being known as the face of Monday Night Raw.
Monday Night Rollins.
Yeah, and so I liked that kind of fiery side of Rollins wanting to get back to that main event picture and him getting inserted into the match. I kind of wanted to see a little more complaining about the other combatants, but there was some of that, so that was fine. And then the finish was, of course, Rollins and Balor getting the double pin on, I believe it was Bray.
On Bray,
in the match there. So we got the announcement. I didn't see anything social media wise, but I'm sure that's what it was. But I saw it during SmackDown that they announced it will be a 7-man Elimination Chamber. So I imagine, we speculated about this earlier, but I imagine 3 people will just start the match. Although we did talk about adding the 5th pod above the cage, which would be a lot of fun as well. But what do you guys think? Adding another person to the men's Elimination Chamber when you've got the first ever women's Elimination Chamber? Does it stick out to you guys as kind of fucked up that they make the men's a little bit different than the women's, or is it just kind of that's what WWE does? We're just going to add another guy to the match just because we have to have something for Seth Rollins to do, which is kind of where I fall on it. I kind of wish they would have kept him more similar, though, just because it is the first women's Elimination Chamber. Although it is different in the fact that Alexa Bliss is defending her championship in the chamber. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just sitting over here complaining about things on my own. Anyway, what?
I totally dig it, though. It adds a new reason to watch the men's Elimination Chamber besides the typical winner goes to WrestleMania routine that we've seen almost every year with the Elimination Chamber. The women's, it's awesome, it's great, cool. It's just with the whole Seth Rollins situation, you had that kink in the armor of Ambrose getting injured, Jason Jordan getting injured. What do you do? Pair him up with somebody else and kind of make him, it's you can't keep doing this bar feud with him. It's gone on way too long.
Yeah,
and
I'm glad he's out of that tag team
and
picture
I'm glad they're putting him back into that big main event scene. And it's just like, yeah, man, for everyone that they got in this match, it's gonna be a super exciting match, and you just got another solid superstar to fucking get some good spots in there too. And having him and Balor both in the match, and it just adds that whole new dynamic too of like, is Reigns really going to pull this off? Are they tricking us again? What kind of fuckery are they doing to us? So it's just like it's a good excitement. It's a good distraction a little bit from almost the obvious.
I like Rollins bringing up the memories of him defeating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania with his Money in the Bank briefcase, kind of just getting all of our heads kind of worked up again. Like, well, we know there's no Money in the Bank match, but what if Rollins somehow gets into the match with Reigns and Lesnar again and da-da-da-da-da. So it makes it fun to just kind of send your mind down that wormhole.
Keeps it spinning, man. And that's about what it is about the shows. It's got to keep you spinning. You go dead, like you're losing character. You're losing. I lost my train of thought on that one right there.
This is like the bright side of that WWE mentality where you on the fly, like. They're taking advantage of something, and this is sometimes where things blossom to something really awesome, where it's just like on the fly. Let's just go this route. It's like I'm looking forward to it.
So last week or the week before, I don't remember. We were talking about how we weren't really that interested in seeing Finn Balor in the Elimination Chamber just to lose, possibly. So now that he is officially in with Seth Rollins and everybody else in the match, how do you feel about Finn Balor being in this match?
I just hope that he gets a good showing, because that's the thing is like if the fact that we know that he's probably not going to win the Elimination Chamber, but if he has a good showing, you can still come out of that just fine.
Yes.
But he can just come out of it just fine if he has a good showing, with Seth Rollins in there now. They've got good chemistry. He's had a thing with Bray. He's had a thing with almost everybody in that match, so he's ready to face them.
I would like to see, now in this match, I thought it was a really great moment where Rollins hit the blackout, the curb stomp on Finn Balor, but then Apollo Crews dived in and saved him from the finish there. That brought up this idea of possibly Rollins and Finn in a one-on-one type of situation, which I think would be very, very good. What would be at stake there, who knows?
Damn, didn't even think about that.
That could be a good possibility. I could see them certainly blowing that, certainly at the upcoming Raw pay-per-view. Or no, that is Elimination Chamber, so never mind. So Raw. This is the last Raw pay-per-view before WrestleMania, but there's a lot of Raw episodes between now and WrestleMania where they could certainly blow that load. But I would like to see that would be a good one-on-one matchup that they can. And let's be honest here. I say blowing that load as if it's a waste of time or doing something for no reason. They've been giving us good long competitive matches on Monday Night Raw lately. So if they did it on Raw, I'm sure they would probably do it to some extent right. Maybe give us a bad finish, but that's certainly a possibility.
Good main event though.
A good main event, and if they do a bad finish, and if it's a match with really nothing on the line, it's something that they could come back to at a later point when it's for a championship or something else. So certainly a possibility there. All right, let's move on and talk some SmackDown Live now.
Subject: SmackDown Live.
I can be a superhero.
I'm going to make this a tag team match.
Sigma!
So a lot of changes to the quote-unquote Fastlane main event took place
Weird.
on SmackDown. Very, very interesting what they did here. So two big matches came out of, it was supposed to be Ziggler versus Corbin, and the winner of that was going to get added to the three-way at Fastlane, basically because Shane doesn't like what Daniel Bryan has been doing with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, so he says, well, you know what, I'm going to add my own stipulation, and all of a sudden Baron Corbin and Ziggler are going to get a championship shot with the winner moving on. So Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, because they don't like anything that Shane McMahon does, decided to beat up both Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler. So then here comes Shane O'Mac and says, that's not going to work with me. Now you're going to both get singles matches. So we got two heel-on-heel matches, but it was weird. It was such a weird psychology because both matches felt like our sympathies should have been on Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler, who have been like the biggest dirtbag douche heels lately. But apparently, the douchier heels, the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, out Trump or out heel.
I'd argue Ziggler not really being a heel right now, though. Like that moment, his music actually popped. It was just like boom, face moment, crowd's nuts. He's smiling, he's back, walking to that ring.
And his little promo beforehand,
promo
too.
in the back too, and then I feel like someone released out there to be kind of like to get people talking about him again, because his contract details are like all over the fucking internet. It's just like
talk about getting worked on the internet.
Exactly. It's just like, how do you know his exact details to his contract?
Nobody fucking
exactly,
knows.
but it's
all
the
over the
same
place.
shit. So, but it's just like, if any of that's true, good for him. But
I heard he might. I heard he might be showing up and interrupting Rey Mysterio Jr. at Strong Style Evolved, and then he's gonna challenge Jericho in the GN Climax.
Well, the details are like he's getting like 1.5 million every 2 years or some shit. He can leave the arena right when his match is done. He can go do other like comedy show events, even if he's booked for WWE stuff. So it's just like I could see that they're gonna kind of use that on that we want him back. We want him back to SmackDown, sign him to this exclusive contract where he's gonna get these perks kind of stuff to kind of get him cocky and happy and cool again. So it's just like I kind of see like that's why somebody might have released those details online a little bit, because like I said, it's oddly like fucking everywhere. It's like it just doesn't feel right. But him coming out to that match and making it a number one contender spot, that's why it's the land of opportunity. You can be put in this match to be put into this match. Cool, I'm back. So that's kind of how I've been looking at the whole Ziggler situation. Is just he has perks now.
Well, let's talk that Ziggler Sami Zayn match. I liked the match itself.
Sammy Wow Wow.
Sammy Wow Wow. This is one I've had buried
Sammy Wow Wow
for a long time, and I had to bring it back because it's
Sammy Wow Wow.
It's got to get more play. We got to play the Sammy Wow Wow. But yeah, I thought a good match between these two. Zayn has really been performing well with some good matches the last few Smackdowns here. I thought this was way better than Baron Corbin and Kevin Owens. And the finish I thought was pretty interesting too, with Dolph Ziggler just hitting a super kick and falling on top of Zayn. Yeah. We've seen Ziggler do that a million times, and it's always a 2 count. And here he actually got a 3 count here.
But he did hit a zigzag and a famouser as well. So he had hit a few of his bigger moves.
Right. Yeah, there were some big near falls. Yeah, where Ziggler hit several of his maneuvers in the match, and it was all about Ziggler. Like I don't remember a Blue Thunder Bomb in the match. I think Zayn made a couple of Helluva attempts, but never hit it. Ziggler always avoided it and hit a super kick or whatever. I think that was the finish, is where Zayn went for a Helluva kick and he sidestepped it and hit the super kick. It might have even been when he was running in for the Helluva kick, just stepped up, hit the super kick, and fell on top of him for the finish there. So I thought that was good. And so now, very interesting. So yeah, Corbin also beats Kevin Owens with the funky looking end of days. And again, I thought it was awkward with Corbin fighting from underneath. Like, it wasn't quite as awkward in the Ziggler-Zayn match, but I thought Corbin kind of fighting from underneath as a baby face with Kevin Owens just felt so awkward to me. Like
it just doesn't make sense.
Go Corbin, like that. Why are we supposed to be cheering for fucking Corbin here? So I thought that was a bit strange, but he does win. So we got Corbin and Ziggler added to the main event of Fastlane with AJ Styles versus all of the heels now. So it makes it for very interesting stuff there, and plenty of opportunities for the internet to start screaming about, oh my God, what if one of these awful heels beats AJ for the championship and it's Nakamura versus fucking Corbin or something at WrestleMania, or Nakamura versus Ziggler again.
I think you got too many hot heads in one match. That's not AJ Styles.
Right. And that's the perfect.
He's gonna pick them apart.
Perfect story to tell there. And the ultimate babyface story there. Here, the ultimate fighter, the ultimate, the ultimate underdog or whatever. Just him overcoming all of those odds and just being tough and doing what AJ does.
Since we're talking about AJ Styles, though, a lot of people who are really fucking mad about him not being on SmackDown this week. And not that I don't want to see AJ Styles, on TV, but I enjoyed that we we had a show without him that was a good product. It was a good show. Like we see with NXT every week, you don't need the champion to be on the TV every single fucking week to make a statement.
I agree. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and that's one of the advantages of SmackDown being a shorter show. You don't have to have everybody on every week, and I think it's smart to preserve the champion's appearances. Yes, to me, the show had some drag to it. There was definitely that, but again, that might have been my own fatigue, and certainly the way WWE tends to do things. I have a bit of my own pet peeves
If you
with.
DVR it, you fast forward the commercials and the intros, it's not that bad.
Yeah, and the thing is I tend to watch. I fast forward definitely through some of the stuff, but I want to see all of the talking stuff just so I don't miss anything when I
Right.
talk about it on the show here. It can get a bit daunting.
Yeah.
So I can see
It happens to us all.
Yeah, but so other stuff from the show. Bobby Roode tries
Bob
to
Roode.
Bob Roode. Yeah, let me.
Bob
I
Roode.
just have to correct myself right now.
Bob Roode.
He tried to reinitiate this U.S. Open Challenge idea, and every time somebody comes out and says, "Let's redo the United States Open Challenge," I'm like, "Yes, that's a good idea."
Yep.
Honey dick.
And they, I swear to God,
Fucking honey dick.
we try not to bitch too much on this show. I'm officially opening the bitching. Why do they got to keep fucking with the goddamn U.S.? Just give us the Open Challenge. We want it so hard. And he makes the challenge. Here comes Orton, and here comes Jinder just to get his heat. Here's the thing. I thought Jinder as like a piece of shit coming out just to stir the pot. I thought that was good.
It did work
But
for him.
I was more upset at the idea of WWE using this as a trope to get heat. Stop using it to get heat. You don't need to stop again honey dicking us, to steal Taco's phrase there, with the U.S. Open Challenge. Just give it to us next time. You can't just stop teasing us with the damn thing, because it's at this point it's like predictable. Like, oh, it's gonna be more fuckery and skullduggery, and it's just not gonna work.
Skullduggery.
I do absolutely love, though, that he did use it to call out Randy Orton without directly calling out Randy Orton.
And then
Like, it was just so subtle, where it's just like, I hope you come out, like, it was, I like this heel, Bob Roode, or face Bob Roode, but,
Bob Roode.
it's still so weird.
yeah,
But I like that they're trying it on him, you have to.
Yeah, the glorious thing is it was more over at NXT, I think, and I think his more natural role, especially doing the robe thing and the quote unquote Ric Flair gimmick, he's definitely more suited to be a heel. But overall, I bitching aside from what they're doing with the bastardizing of the U.S. Open Challenge, I like what this segment accomplished. How about that for spinning positivity? I hated the U.S. Open Challenge, but I like what they were doing here with the idea of teasing the quote unquote dream match of Bobby Roode and Clinton Dix for the U.S. Championship. Randy Orton for the U.S. Championship, and I thought Jinder, like I said, played a really good heel role, just being a dick, just stirring the pot, and I like Rude talking, getting in, not getting in his face, but bringing up to Randy, hey man, I'm kind of tired of getting RKO'd out of nowhere. Let's do this thing face to face. So I like Rude bringing that up, and then Orton, of course. Oh, you mean like this? And then doing it RKO out of nowhere to one of the Singh brothers, and the schmaz erupting, the brawl breaking out of nowhere.
brawl.
Who saw that coming?
Oh no! A brawl's broken out. Didn't see this one coming. What? Battling it out of the ring.
You didn't see it coming.
I miss Booker. God damn it.
Oh, there's a sound clip that we might need to save.
I miss Booker?
Yeah.
Oh, I do. He never bugged me.
You know what?
Well, and the fact
I
that
love the
Jinder
insanity.
stands tall at the end of this thing, too.
You know what? Here's the thing: is during Jinder's World Heavyweight Championship run, everybody fucking hated it. Everybody was screaming about it. And now that he doesn't, that championship run built Jinder up so that now when he comes out in this kind of mid-card area, this U.S. Championship part of the card, he's got the good type of heat. I enjoy seeing him come out and kind of being a piece of shit. And I get it. I like his music. I like the Singh brothers coming out with him. I like him being fucking greasy as hell and having acne all over his body. It's just like, my God, this guy's a greasy piece of shit. And so he's just such a great heel.
Right about him. It's just the promos always fell short. It's just they just
but
always
now,
were they're hitting the right stride because they fucking learned. They already went through those promos. You can't really do them again.
Other stuff from SmackDown, the Usos walked down a hallway talking about themselves again. Talked about this last week, how they're just kind of cutting promos, talking about themselves, building themselves up. And this time it was the Bludgeon Brothers busting the TV screen that they were watching.
Do you think they do that every time they don't like something on TV?
I mean, obviously, that's how they got their name. They just bludgeon all the furniture. I don't like this. Don't change the channel. Just bust the TV. And what else?
See, like these Uso promos, though, are like the only time that I really do like them using those fucking words across the screens, like, because it's like
words, yes, penitentiary doors closing, no,
none of that. Like,
you're right.
Usos a couple weeks ago were like the first ones to really do this when they were walking in the back and everything, but it just works for the character so well, and they just fucking they had that flow where they just keep talking in the Uso like what else? So it's nice to just pop those words out a little bit in your face, but. Like I said earlier with Daniel Bryan, the yes. Is that
what
else? No, I agree that the words for them, because it was it almost felt like it started as their thing, or certainly as a SmackDown thing. And yeah, I kind of associate the Usos with it. But now that it's everybody, and doing it live for Daniel Bryan was like, oh wow, that's really contrived.
It's a little too much, but it's like how they do it in the Usos promo is like the right way to do it. Just don't do it 5 times in one episode.
Big E and Kofi did defeat Benjamin and Gable because they were going to have a pancake eating contest, and Benjamin and Gable did not want anything to do with it.
He didn't even eat one pancake.
Not one.
Nobody likes pancakes.
That's a lie.
Bullshit.
Prince loved pancakes.
This was one of the segments where, and I like Benjamin and Gable. I like the New Day, but I couldn't do it.
It was National Pancake Day.
That was tough for me.
Nobody likes pancakes.
Change the subject. Let's talk some NXT. NXT. Oh, you know what? We'll go back and we'll talk Mixed Match Challenge in 205, but since I already hit the NXT sounder, I definitely want to talk NXT. Good NXT show this week. Kind of hit me out of nowhere. I forgot we were going to get the Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler rematch, and we did get the United Kingdom Championship match between Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong. Logic says since Roderick Strong won a big match on 205 Live and is well on his way to winning the Cruiserweight Championship, well, by God, he should win the United Kingdom Championship.
What up?
He should have them both.
That did not happen, but we did get a good match between Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne as expected. Pete Dunne getting the win with the bitter end after stealing a bit of Marty Scurll's offense and doing a finger breaker spot. Not exactly the same way that Marty Scurll does it, but a sneaky little finger breaker on the ground.
He's always worked the fingers, though.
Absolutely.
So Roderick Strong showing that aggressive side again in this match that we just haven't seen before. Like, was it last week? Who did he beat last week?
He had the
the
Cruiserweight match versus
Itami.
Yes, Hideo Itami. So yeah, and he's been having good performances. I like that he's the messiah of the backbreaker. One of my favorite spots in this match with Pete Dunne was how he cut him off early in the match. Pete Dunne's working the fingers on the outside, and Roderick Strong just picks him up and throws him into the stairs. Uses the stairs as like a backbreaker fulcrum, which I thought was a lot of fun there. But Pete Dunne does retain. Good match there. As we mentioned, the main event, Shayna Baszler versus Ember Moon, and I was surprised that they came back to this match this quickly, but again, they did a TV finish here. I like what they did though, because Ember Moon came out very strong, attacking Baszler, making Baszler look like she was caught off guard by Ember Moon. But then Baszler does get the advantage, starts working over the arm again, and this time she gets extra dastardly outside of the ring, bringing a little bit of outside by working her fingers and her arm into the guard railing. This was too much skullduggery for Kairi Sane. She decided, well, that's enough of that, and I'm not going to stand and watch this madness. And she came out and attacked Shayna Baszler, protecting Ember Moon from certain doom in the match. So to me, it felt as I was watching it. It felt like a cop-out finish. But I do like that it's a continuance of the storyline. I'm okay with it because it is a TV match, not a big matchup. And again, I wasn't expecting... I didn't even realize that they were doing this match this week. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, it's just an angle, and they're going to move on to the next thing. So it's interesting, Kairi Sane getting involved, saving the champion, but now... also possibly getting involved in the championship picture. Right. Does this lead to a 3-way at TakeOver New Orleans? Who knows? A lot to still unfold coming out of this situation here.
Yeah, I fucking love NXT. Like, what else can I say? Like, they have an hour-long show. They packed in so much this week, even just in promos and small matches, sneaking TM6-1 in there for a quick match. I mean, like,
that was fun.
This was the perfect, wrestling episode. Couple championship matches, regular tag team match. Like, they just do it differently, and I like what they're doing down there. And it doesn't hurt having Morrow and Nigel on announce.
That's one of the things that gets me every time. Like I sit down to watch NXT. Is like I sit down, I turn it on. Here comes Morrow's voice. I'm like, oh yeah, fucking Morrow's on here. Like
Percy doesn't even bug me though. Like he holds his own with them. I mean, he has two fucking powerhouse voices next to him, and he doesn't come across like a goof. Like, I would almost replace him with Coach. Like, Coach, I'm already annoyed with.
Yeah, Coach does not bring much to the table. He's almost like a David Otunga in that he just kind of says the obvious and doesn't bring much analysis to the table.
Fucking realize that too, because there's 3 guys at the NXT table that can easily take his spot. You got Meanie Corey Graves on 205 that easily take his spot. Like, they got a lot of announcers they're working with.
At least with Booker T, he would often contradict himself, or sometimes Corey Graves would think he was contradicting himself even when he wasn't. But at least that was kind of an entertaining sidebar.
But exactly. There's that level to Booker where he knows how to enhance himself, because
and it's gonna be good.
he's been in the business forever, so he knows that he's a maniac of what he says. So he's just gonna keep himself going.
You can tell Dan has been working out. All about sets and reps.
You're not going to get that kind of tremendous analysis from Jonathan Coachman.
I gotta go back to the Ember Moon match.
Yes.
So I did not like the ending at all. It took me right out of the match. Like, I almost wish the UK title closed out the show and not this match. Like,
definitely.
It just felt just like a son. Like, oh yeah. Cool. I would have liked to see at least, maybe Shayna Baszler go with a DQ instead, or just they could have went a different route with them outside and her doing all that crazy shit
just simply because of that it was a fuck finish, an angle, and DQ.
Just Kairi Sane coming out like that, I was like, come on.
Yeah, it did feel like a cop-out finish.
It wasn't a strong ending to me, but...
Well, it doesn't seem like something she would do. She wouldn't, whether or not there's, her smashing her arm and the thing, she's interrupting a championship match. Like, why do that?
I honestly think that the angle is is fucking Shayna Baszler's been attacking everybody. Shayna Baszler
She did attack
attacked Kairi Sane at one point.
Oh yeah, she definitely had reason to come out. It's just I almost rather see like a 10 count and Shayna just be like, haha, bitch. Like, it's just.
Well, and again, I completely understand your story with this being an angle. Like, I had no problem with it, but I see what you're saying. Put this at the beginning of the show and put the match with the clean finish at the end. So I understand that part of it, but I don't necessarily have a problem with the angle because, again, Baszler.
Angle's fine.
Baszler is going to get the rematch because she got the win technically because she was the one that got attacked. So it was her getting the DQ win. And certainly Kairi Sane has now entered herself into that picture. I'm sure because Shayna Baszler will want to get exact her revenge, not only by
she got punked,
right, but she'll want some revenge on Kairi Sane as well as I'm sure Kairi Sane has more revenge in the idea of winning a match probably versus Shayna Baszler, as well as wanting to get in the championship picture. So lots of things
it's all positives
to digest in that whole thing. We did have Velveteen Dream talking about facing No Way Jose next week and kind of calling out the Tyler Bate a little bit.
I liked it
in his press conference, in his meeting with the press in the hallway. Again, I love these meetings with the press that they do, especially the Lars one.
Lars.
But I just love when they give us a reason for a camera to be filming a wrestler, and when they to advance the storyline, it's not just a skit in the back for no reason. And again, I just like Velveteen Dream throwing out a couple scenarios. Not only does he get the match next week with No Way, but then calling out little Tyler Bate, little 5'0" nothing. That's a little matchup that not a little matchup, but that'd be a hell of a match. Something to look forward to possibly for Takeover in New Orleans.
Well, and I just love this like tour that basically Velveteen Dream is doing, calling out Aleister Black and finally getting him to wrestle him, facing Cassius Ohno. I mean, he's literally just facing anybody that's willing to get in a ring with him just to be like, yeah, because I'm number one.
And then also on the show, Aleister Black made an appearance, not in the ring, not in a match. He came to the ring, talked a bunch of smack like Bray Wyatt kind of does, and then talked about wanting to set his eyes on the championship. But then Killian Dane had something to say about that, and so we will get a matchup between these two at some point. I'm hoping this is also a takeover match because, it would be a really good battle between those two as well. So next week, we got some good stuff coming. We have Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas rematch.
Title for a career.
Right. So
NXT career.
Again, be careful, people. If you're avoiding spoilers, they are out there. This has been taped, so watch out for those. But a lot of speculation here.
So
does Gargano win the title here and then go on to with his feud with Tommaso Ciampa as champion? What if Gargano loses? Does he immediately go up to 205 Live? Do they do the Mr. America gimmick and bring him back as El Generico? What? How does all of this?
I like that idea. Let's just go with that.
Well, what are your thoughts going into this one?
I see Andrade retain that championship. I don't know how the fuck Gargano's going to weasel his way out.
Does Gargano go up to 205, and does Ciampa follow him up there, and do they try to continue that story on that stage? I think I talked about this last week.
That's the thing, or does Ciampa just interfere in the match next week? God damn it!
Right? There's just so many options. I kind of like the idea. I mean, I want to see this feud, but I also could see WWE doing its thing and sending Johnny Gargano to 205 Live and keeping Tommaso Ciampa at NXT to sit there and talk shit the whole time about how I sent Johnny Wrestling away. You don't get to see Johnny Gargano because of me, so go fuck yourself.
It's an interesting proposition, but again, I need closure, and the internet will scream if you don't give this storyline closure, and I think it needs to happen on the NXT level. I think it'd be difficult to tell that story to the 205 Live / Smackdown crowd. Yes, some of them will get it, but not on the same level that a true NXT crowd would.
You could go Johnny Gargano's got tickets to NXT that night, and shows up in the front row.
That's a possibility.
And gets involved with Tommaso Ciampa after the fact. But I'm with Taco. I just don't see Andrade dropping the belt either.
Yeah, it's just so odd that they're doing it next week on something that's so big in a sense.
I would like to see Gargano with the NXT title at some point, but yeah, next week does not feel like the moment. There's still more story.
I don't want to see him with the title.
Well, there you go.
I like Andrade with that strap around him, but yeah, it's just I don't know what's gonna happen. I just don't see the title coming off Andrade, and I don't see Gargano leaving NXT next week. There's still we still haven't got a match with Candice LeRae getting involved. You know, why get her involved and then kind of shoo her out of the way suddenly?
And shouldn't she have a little match or a feud of some sort with Zelina Vega?
Yeah, there's something there that should be going on.
Absolutely.
There should have been maybe a week or two build up towards this type of match. So, and like we said, there's that Ciampa closure that should take place in NXT. That's been such a integrated story of his.
We need Ciampa Gargano WrestleMania weekend. That's what we need.
Well, we still got weeks for that too, so that's why it's just next week. This match happening next week is just so odd.
Well, again, how do you get to Gargano versus Ciampa WrestleMania weekend on an NXT show if he doesn't win the NXT championship because he's then kicked out of NXT?
Yeah.
Very interesting here. I'm very curious to see how this all goes down. All right, let's kind of jump in the Wayback Machine because I wanted to go back. I definitely want to talk a little mixed match challenge. And dude, I'm on top of 205.
I'm not.
205 Live is
you missed a week.
I know. It's a new era in 205 Live.
Change the subject.
So really quickly, mixed match challenge. It was Lana and Rusev versus Bayley and Elias. I've been looking forward to this one because, of course,
Lana is the best. Lana number one. Lana is the best. Lana number one. Lana is the best. Lana number one.
So I like the little promos they do back and forth. The matches, for the most part, have been fun, kind of silly. We had more of that here. Elias and Bayley playing a guitar was fun. I completely expected either Lana to take the loss, Rusev to take the loss, and maybe even Elias to take the loss here. But they've really been pushing Elias, so I really expected either Rusev or Lana to take the loss. They put the loss on Bayley. They had Lana beat Lana has never won a WWE match. She beat fucking Bayley, who just finally got a win on a very awesome, good competitive match that we just got done raving about on Monday Night Raw. Now I'm over here screaming because fucking Lana defeated Bayley on Mixed Match Challenge. At least it was on Mixed Match Challenge. Again, it's a lot of fun and silliness. Grand scheme of things, does it matter? Not really.
No, it was a fun win for Lana, and Bayley is one of those kind of characters where she's going to put her heart into the into the fight. Yeah, she's going to go toe to toe with Sasha Banks, but she's in there with Elias, and she just wants nothing but his approval. But they've been butting heads this whole time, so her head's not in this match. Her head is in Elias right now, so of course Lana can get a win off the top rope.
Well, and let's talk about the finish because Bayley was going for that second rope avalanche, Bayley to Bayley. Lana slips out, trips Bayley up. She smashes her head on the top turnbuckle, rolls her up, and gets the win. So it was a fluke win, and Lana slipped on a banana peel to trip up Bayley and get the win over her. So
everyone's reactions were hilarious, even Rusev.
Yeah. So again, it was fun, not a big deal at the end of the day. So 205 Live to change it up again.
Change the subject.
I still got to work on that 205 Live exclusive sounder because who knows how long this is going to stay a suitable subject to talk about because up to this point, I had not gotten into 205 Live that much, but this tournament brought me back in. It's being treated a lot more serious. They're letting these guys go out and have good matches. But Taco, you would argue that even beforehand, when it was, the Zoe train and all of that these guys were still going out and having really good matches.
Still having good matches for sure. It's just, that whole Zoe train being derailed kind of, sparked everyone up a bit. And, with that word of Triple H taking over for the last couple of weeks and even Drake Maverick has been refreshing too. Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
Just every angle, they're going the right path with it right now. And, instead of seeing, 3-on-3, 2-on-2, 4-on-4 tag matches on Raw, it's just we're getting solid fucking performances, and I don't want to take anything away from these guys. Like, they have been, but of course we had, that comedic side a little bit. So yeah, it's just I'm excited. I'm still excited for these guys.
And it was that's the problem with it with the way they were doing 205 Live before. It was just it was like too much comedy. It was all about comedy and silliness. And now we've got these guys. We're getting back to what got them over in the first place in the Cruiserweight Classic. Individual matchups that mean something, and it being about the athletic competition between the quote unquote competitors. So that makes it a little more interesting for me. So we had two first round matches in the tournament. Akira Tozawa versus Mark Andrews, who we met in the UK tournament last year. Nice. And many people have seen him, of course, on the UK indie scene and around the world. He had a name for himself in TNA for a little while. But yeah, good match here. I thought it was the battle of the holds early on in the match, which to me, it took away. It was a little slow at the beginning when I thought the battle of the holds I thought should have been reserved for the Tony Nese Drew Gulak match, which they certainly did do in that match as well. But I thought that story more fitted them than it did the Tozawa Mark Andrews angle. But nevertheless, it played well into how the story of the match played out. With
I think it was also to Tozawa, the veteran, trying not to do all the high-flying shit that Andrews is used to, trying to ground him, not go to his strong points, because, like I said, he's the vet.
And again, like a long match does, they picked up near the end with the near falls, and I thought it ended up being very good.
Good surprise win.
Yes, Mark Andrews getting the win with the leverage counter to the roll-up. Tozawa was going for his own leverage roll-up, and Andrews countered it and got the 1-2-3. So thought that was very good. Again, we were going back to the Drake Maverick aspect of it. He encountered Jack Gallagher in the back, who's going to be facing Mustafa Ali.
Gentleman Jack Gallagher.
He's going to be facing Mustafa Ali in the opening round of the tournament next week. But Drake Maverick talking about, hey, you know what? You've been wearing those really nice suits, not only in promos, but to the ring to wrestle. Well, no more of that. Get yourself some proper ring attire, sir. So I like that he is making Gallagher go back to regular wrestling attire instead of wrestling like a jackass in a suit. Well,
the dude's a badass. He really was. He has MMA fights. Literally before the Cruiserweight Classic happened, he just got out of an MMA fight. So it's like, dude is a badass. You don't see them. He was an MMA fighter. He was oh my God, he was an MMA fighter. No, he's a gentleman, Jack Gallagher. Get out there. Fucking wrestle. Show us what you got, man. Like, he's a badass. Like, I was excited for his heel turn, but it's just kind of like one of those things that just kind of went nowhere.
He was a guy that was really over as a babyface.
He was in the Rumble last year, for Christ's sake.
So, yeah, I think maybe getting back to what got him over in the first place is a smart idea. We'll see if they keep him on the heel side or not, but it'll be interesting. Also, next week, Arya Daivari is going to be taking on the returning Buddy Murphy. Not returning from 205 Live, but coming back from being exiled in NXT. Part of the what was the tag team he was in? They had the dubstep or whatever.
Blake and Murphy.
Blake and Murphy, yeah.
Is that it? Yeah.
I think it was just Blake and Murphy. Yeah. Alexa Bliss got her start with them on NXT TV. So, yeah, I love the little promo for this. He talked about getting down to the weight of 205 was a difficult task for him.
Looks good, though. He really got in shape.
Looks really good. So I'm looking forward to see what he looks like on 205. So that should be a lot of fun next week.
It's Alexa Bliss's dude, too. Husband.
Oh, really? I did not realize that they were a married couple.
Yeah, so hopefully they can start seeing each other on the road, for Christ's sake.
Fantastic. Even though she's on Raw. Well, I guess technically
Raw 205,
but then she doesn't go to Smackdown on Tuesdays unless it's a mixed match challenge, and then Braun Strowman's there, and that's very awkward.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so the main event from 205, Tony Nese versus Drew Gulak, two former Zoe trainers.
You asked me last week if I was worried about Drew Gulak.
Yeah, I definitely
and I said no.
So how do you feel about that now?
No, fucking that match was great.
Awesome.
What'd you think about the match?
I know I loved the match. I was more worried about people that enjoyed Drew Gulak's act as the dork in the suit with the sign and the PowerPoint presentation, because there was none of that here other than the only sign of
coming
that
out of his shirt.
The only sign of that, him wearing the T-shirt, and in the match, he didn't do any high flying except for like a running drop kick, which I thought was very astute for the announcers to point out. Oh my God, he left his feet! And so I thought that was a cool little spot, but they didn't do the obnoxiousness that they were doing in the past, where he would reluctantly climb to the top rope with the wiggly legs and the shaky knees. They didn't do any of that. It was a straight up match.
This is the guy that we need screaming "no fly zone" to people. Is the guy that's gonna whoop your ass and throw you to the ground.
And him getting the win with the Dragon Sleeper, I thought was really cool too. So, I like how the intensity of the match picked up later in the match as they start slapping each other back and forth.
He had a handful of his beard slapping him, and it was great.
Gulak throwing Nese into the table 3 times, then hitting a big lariat in the ring, and then he does this. Hits him with a power bomb, and then he goes to do the thing where he kind of lifts him up and does another power bomb. But there was a good 3 seconds there where Nese's shoulders are on the ground, and the referee is standing there staring. Why aren't you counting, referee? But obviously that wasn't any kind of spot. It was just kind of awkward that the ref wasn't counting the deal there. But it was a great win for Gulak, I thought, in that spot. I thought, again, we were talking about kind of odd psychology earlier with what was going on Smackdown between Ziggler and Corbin being heels that you were supposed to feel sympathy for. I thought we had a little bit of that here with Nese and Gulak. I wasn't sure who I was supposed to be behind. I felt naturally just kind of behind Gulak because of everybody was digging the PowerPoint stuff. Everybody was digging his act before. And really, Tony Nese is just a muscly dude who talks about his abs. So that's naturally a heel thing. So I was...
Well, he has 8 reasons to talk about his abs.
Exactly. So for that reason, I was kind of rooting against Tony Nese. But then mid-match, kind of towards the late end of the match, Tony Nese started throwing out the flashy moves and stuff. So I'm like, okay, he's got some cool stuff. But then Gulak's fighting from underneath, being this tough son of a bitch. So I like that aspect.
We got to look at them too in the back when they were getting ready. You had Drew Gulak just fucking pissed, walking through the hall, ready to go to war, and then you had Tony Nese getting warmed up, and then stopping and looking at the mirror and going right back to his abs. So it's just you gotta get out of that mindset, dude. So yeah, it's funny seeing this progression going on.
Yeah, and a fun kind of change of character, and for the good, I think, for Gulak. A babyface move without being over the top, without being obnoxious about it, just kind of being that gritty fight from underneath guy, and a guy who doesn't have a lot of flash too, which I think is
well, and that was him in the Cruiserweight Classic too. If you go back, he was just a motherfucker when he came in.
Sure.
And that's what I want to see. He had, even just grow the fucking goatee back. Just become a fucking dick and beat people down. That's what I liked about Drew Gulak at the beginning.
I do want to start a GoFundMe, though, so we can get the guy some knee pads. That's my only All right, let's kind of wrap up the show here. A couple of little things I want to talk about, a couple of little plugs I want to get in. There is a local wrestling show here in Minneapolis coming up this Friday, the 16th. This podcast is dropping on Thursday. So if you're listening Thursday and you get a chance, now here's the thing: this is a Friday show, just like last week. We went to Taco and I went to a Friday show, a really fun local show.
Oh, yeah.
Got to meet Jeff Cobb. Got to get introduced to some really young local wrestlers, some guys just getting their start. But I had a fun time, really good fun show. Kind of the same thing this weekend. We got another local show with a couple of local names on it, but a lot of younger talent as well. It's going to be, Midwest All-Star Wrestling. Now, I want to reiterate, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it to this show because I got work on Friday that sometimes goes late. I'm not sure if either of you are going to be able to make it either, but if we can, great. We'll be tweeting about it if we can, so So stay tuned there. And if you can make it out, come say hi. We got some brand new Best Pro Wrestling Podcast buttons.
Yeah.
So if you want to come meet us in person and grab a button from us, that would be cool. But that's this Friday at the Parkway Theater in Minneapolis if you want to come meet up with us. Another quick thing let's talk about before we get into the official plugs at the end of the show. Let's talk this SLTD wrestling thing going on. There's a fantasy league going on where we talked about this last week where we all picked our teams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe and I are tied, I believe, was it 24 points
24
each?
points.
24.
My team is the Striker Likers. Joe, you are...
The Best Pro Wrestling Podcast co-host squad.
All right, wow, that's creative.
Thanks.
Taka, where did you come in points-wise on this?
I came in at 4 points, second to last. I chose my team based off my team name, Too Hot for Your Mom.
So we'll keep that in mind as we tally up your points.
I don't know if it changes with your listing, but I mean, my team was listed number 1.
Well,
like on the top.
Rusev number 1.
Technically, we are tied, and being that I am I'm behind the computers here, Striker is the best. Striker number 1. Striker is the best.
I can't do that with
Striker
my team.
number 1.
Nope.
So, just in case you're wondering who to vote for, or who to root for, if you're a Striker liker, yeah, I think the answer's obvious.
I'd vote for him too. It's just easier to
Underdog, Too Hot for Your Mom.
So, okay, make sure you check out sltdwrestling.com if you want to get in on this fantasy league and have some fun with that. They do have predictions leagues for all the WWE pay-per-views. So if you want to just do predictions, you can check that out there. Also, a lot of really fun and great fan articles and stuff like that where they're talking about all things WWE. There's a guy that does Impact stuff on there. So if you're looking for more, obviously we don't talk a lot of Impact on this show, but they cover that over there as well.
I tried to watch Impact at work, and I got a fucking
reprimand.
Bitcoin fucking miner on my computer and had to delete it.
So there's that. But yeah, go to sltdwrestling.com. You can check out our podcast posted there, as well as Strong Honor and all them great fan articles. And they're going to be doing a lot of coverage for WrestleMania week, the Hall of Fame. They're going to be having all kinds of cool stuff to read and talk about over there on sltdwrestling.com. Check out my Twitter, Tommy Striker, spell Striker with a Y, at BPW Podcast for the podcast, Facebook.com/Best Pro Wrestling Podcast. Hey, you want to advertise on the show? Send us an email, bestprowrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. And check out the website for Strong Honor, this podcast, and all things Best Pro Wrestling. Links to everything we talk about, bestprowrestlingpodcast.com. Taco, where can people find you?
Follow me on Twitter at HGREV Taco.
And you can follow me, Joe, at JoeBPWB. That's at Joe, Best Pro Wrestling Podcast.
That's going to do it for this week. Thanks for checking out the show. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. Bye!
Chaps!
Absolutely. Listen up, wrestling fans. Shut up. Knee to the face. Sammy Wow Wow.
Oh, is that what it is, pal?
Yeah, that is what it is, guy.
Hi. Well, now I know, friend.
Well, I'm glad that both of you know, cheats.